And good morning, folks. We're here for Small Business Chat. Morning, Karen.
Morning.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Got coffee.
Good, thank you. Little head nod, cup raise. There we go. I love our little morning greetings. So this week, we wanted to talk about the impact of using a more collaborative approach across your media channels. Yet again, we've covered this slightly before, but yet again, I've been having chats with clients about sort of the benefit of PR, but how, for me, you really need to be looking at all different media channels to make sure that you're amplifying your message across everything, rather than just sticking in one lane, like only doing social, only doing PR, only doing your newsletter. Like, how can we make sure that it all works? And Karen, and you and I have been talking about as well, sort of like newsletters recently for one client to sort of really home in the messaging that we're going to discuss for a potential client's social media calendar. And it's all been really interesting, and I think that it's worth reminding and doing a standalone piece on this, because what I find is that we talked about the PESO model before, but we're going to provide some links at the site of who to follow. Her lady called Ginny Dietrich. I'm in PR, so I have discovered this lady, which makes complete sense to me in terms of PR, going, well, it's not standalone like it used to be. How are we making sure that we work across paid channels, paid media channels, so ads, social media ads, earned channels, which is PR, so you're working with the journalist and you're earning that coverage, that piece of coverage.
Yeah.
Social, so your social media content, and then also owned, so our website, our blogs, our newsletters, and it all interacts. And I think that we're doing more, aren't we? We're doing more ourselves over the past couple of months. We've been learning what's working, what's not with our video content. LinkedIn content is something that we're both doing at the same time. I've kind of neglected my Instagram, but I'm also looking at newsletters at the moment and just trying to create a wheel. Just the whole aspect is to close the loop. Close the loop.
Definitely. Yeah. I think just sort of doing that combination, but everything's kind of talking to each other and supporting each other as well, isn't it?
And it saves a lot of time, because ultimately, if you make sure that what you're talking about, rather than looking at one message that has to go for each channel, it's like, what is the overall umbrella message that you need to get? What's the key factors you need to communicate? And I mean, I love this word, repurpose. But it is necessarily, you're tweaking that content to fit that particular channel. It's as simple as that. But it means that you're not thinking of 4 things to write. You're just thinking of the one thing to write. I know some people have a little, their backs up going, oh, you know, you shouldn't be just duplicating content. It's not duplication when you're tweaking it to make sure it's relevant for that audience. So for me, I'm looking at a blog that I'm just about to post on Instagram, and it's very visual, you know, very heavy. Like, I really take time looking at those visuals, whereas LinkedIn, I can just post up the copy. It's not even an issue.
Yeah. And then even then, a LinkedIn post, you are limited to the amount of 200 words you can put in there. So then if you want to do a longer one, you'd have to do either a post or a blog. Correct. So but what I find a bit easier is doing the smaller content and then maybe build those up into a longer blog, which then can be made into an ebook, which then eventually becomes a book.
It does.
And so you go on.
I like it. I like your thinking. We're finally getting through. Going, you must put out this content, Karen.
I know. So, but it's starting. I think it's the small steps that you have to start. I think it's when I know I've struggled with it, is writing blog posts and you know what to write about, and you know you do have to have a minimum amount of words, or you know it's got to be really in depth and relevant. But there are lots of different types of blogs that you can have, you know, short blogs, long blogs and everything. But I just often get a block when it comes to that. So what I'm finding is doing shorter posts on things like Facebook and LinkedIn. You know, you're starting to get into that practice mode of doing little bits of content that you can then sort of start extending out and
also it's
joining together.
Yeah, you're right, actually. It's good to test it, isn't it? You're seeing what are the topics that are piquing people's interest. So rather than just, I mean, I think one of the barriers that I have, and the reason why it's important to, what I love about these these chats, is that even I'm not perfect. You know, I as for a business
You're
owner,
not?
I know, it's shocking, isn't it? Shocking, Karen, shocking. But even as a business owner, like I can see it clearly for other people. But the whole point is the proof is in your own pudding, isn't it? You have to walk your talk, walk your walk, talk your talk. And I think that's the really important thing, that I'm still learning. I know what my barriers are, and exactly what you just said, Karen. It is a case of, I know that when I write my blog, I put my heart and soul into a blog. I want it to be the right information for that person. A little bit of perfectionism there, I think, that's getting in my way. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's what holds, that's often what holds us back, isn't it? That sort of procrastination and perfectionism. I just want to say a quick hi. We've got Gail just joined us, and they should have booked Karen. I don't know if that's a question mark or whether that's a demand or something. Hi, Gail. Nice for you to join us. Yeah.
But it's so true. I think that's the tester is, and we were discussing this as well this week, is that at least with the smaller content, you can test the ideas on your social media content. But again, it's as long as it's all connected to your key values, your proposition, what is going to appeal to your I like saying the words, your target, your audience, your customer, then at least you can see what's going to resonate with them. But it really is linking the dots, because the other thing is that, as I keep on explaining to clients, it's all very well doing this outward communication, like making sure your comms is going outwards, but you have to make it draw back in. And so, the whole thing of having your own content, like your newsletters and your blogs, that's why it's so important to have that core content, because you also want to make sure it's driving all of that activity back to your website, because that's where your traffic is. And we were talking as well with a client this week, and it's not about having people to the website or how many followers you've got. For me, and you asked me this question earlier, like this week, what is the ultimate goal? And it's creating your own list. Like, ultimately, if all these platforms went down, if your website went down, if your social media certain media channels got banned, I don't know, for doing their nonsense, whatever it may be, you have your customer base to take with you. Mm-hmm. That is the core protection here. That is what the aim of the game is. And it's making sure that model drives, especially if you're a small business and you need, I think any size business, you need to drive that number of your customers, that you have something tangible, that are engaged, that that you can reach out to, connect with at any point. And I think that's super important.
Yeah. And I think that's quite key, what you meant, engaged, because I think people do chase the likes and the numbers and everything. And yes, that will get you out to more, it'll get you more awareness and get you out to a bigger audience, if that's what your kind of purpose is. But at the end of the day, it is ultimately having that really engaged audience of people, whether they're current clients, potential clients, or just fans of what you do, that can then refer you to other people. So it keeps a constant loop of business coming in, isn't it?
And I think the reason why I wanted to flag up the PESO model is that, again, I think that as business owners, especially if we're small business owners, we're going to try and not invest or spend as much as we can. And the problem is that when you're communicating, or when you're trying to launch something or promote a product, you need that spend, whether it's in Facebook ads. Some people are seeing it. I saw a really great post. I quite like Liz Melville. She does Facebook ads for launches. And I met her at an event. I really like the way she explains it. And she said, like, not paying for Facebook ads is almost like a badge of honor. And it's not necessarily the case. I mean, it doesn't have to be Facebook ads, but maybe Google ads, or whatever it may be. It's like a badge of honor. I didn't spend that money. Here's the thing. Especially with earned media and media titles that you want to work with. So we all think, I want to be in such and such magazine. You'll have a one-hit wonder that has an expiry date. The goal is not to be featured in there. The goal is to have a relationship so that they keep on featuring you. And the only way that's going to happen if you reciprocate it. And I have much better conversations when I'm speaking to magazines, both the editorial and the promotion side. and we work together, because it means that when an opportunity comes up, they're more inclined to think of you rather than the whole list of people banging at their door. And that is the thing, that don't be afraid of paid. And this is why when something hits, like when we're in financial difficulties, you'll notice as well that the first thing to go, the first thing to be cut is marketing. And this is why it's so important that you need to still invest in it to make sure that it's all running smoothly, whether it's making sure that your website is, you know, capturing those leads, and we need to invest in that website marketing and sort of like newsletter marketing, or whether or not we need to invest in paid media or paid ads, something like that. But that's why that PESO model, those 4 elements, paid, earned, social and owned, are all of equal value, and we have to see what's right for the objective and also where we need to spend.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, like you say, during, you know, we started this up during lockdown, didn't we? And the idea is just, you know, to keep going out there, keep supporting small businesses, keep putting content out there. And whereas a lot of people just, I think, just sort of panicked and then stopped. And
yeah,
and often there are people out there looking for what you are doing, and you know, as soon as you kind of drop all that marketing, you're not on their radar, like you said. And one of the things, you know, I think, because it's happened a couple of times, and people have just said, "Oh, you popped up in my timeline or something. I was looking for someone to do this, you know, you." Oh yeah, you know, I'd forgotten until I saw you again. Yeah, that you do this particular thing. It wasn't website related. I think it was doing a landing page or something like that. So if I hadn't been there, that would have gone off to somebody else.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's what's really important, to just keep there, to stay top of mind, because people do forget.
They do.
People go, "Oh, do you do websites?" It's like, oh come on.
But also, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
You also do other elements, and people might not be aware of that. So that's why when you're looking at all of your different services and products, we have to talk about all of it, so that people, and also the other thing is that if you have a particular piece of content, we're looking at how to repurpose these videos. We just went ahead and we just did, which is great for us. But now we're looking at, right, how can we make sure that this is SEO juice? How can we put this in our blog? How can we put this in our newsletters? Particularly, we've had some great conversations that might be a little bit longer, but we could put it in a blog post, and we could then pay to boost that blog post just to get more reach if we think it's particularly relevant. So you know, that's my job over summer, is to have a look at, I mean, we're hitting 20 episodes.
Woo.
Yeah, 2 away. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it's gone that quickly.
It has, but it's been fun. It's been, you know, I found it really engaging. You know, what I love is like hearing the comments and people that have like watched it. Their feedback has been great. And you do sit there and think, yes, but how do we put that back into the funnel? Because this is only going to our page. Not everyone will see you on Facebook. You know, sorry to say, you could do one channel, nobody's going to see that content, you know, all the time. You know, diaries are up and down. It's particularly difficult time with summer holidays, work being required, working different.
Yeah, and a lot of people as well staying off Facebook. So while this is on there, you know, we're going to add it to LinkedIn, as you say, you start sharing it out in other different ways, because even those who are on Facebook won't necessarily see the post every time. You know, there's so much going on in the feed that people only see a small percentage. So yeah, I think it's really key to just keep putting that out there in different times, even resharing in the same channel at a later date.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Recycling, especially, I mean, I call some of our content as being evergreen. You know, we've done that specifically to make sure, okay, we might choose a reference, but actually the principles of what we're going to talk about can be applied to most situations. It's not been specifically, I mean, 1 or 2 has been specifically COVID, but actually even from the key learnings of COVID, like finances, I think that could be applied to any crisis. We're going to go up and down as it goes along anyway, you know.
Absolutely. We've got Brexit coming as well, haven't we? You know, we just don't know what that's going to bring. So, and there's things like that, and it's not just about the finance thing. You know, it's about, you know, people just stopping buying. You know, it's getting your cash flow sorted out. It's making sure you're diversifying your products as well.
Yeah.
Because this is, you know, a lot of people have really struggled because they just deal with one product. they've got one source of income, and that can just stop at any time. I mean, I know I'm at risk. What if the internet went down tomorrow? You know,
hopefully not. That's quite a big one, you know.
that is a big one. I know generally a lot of people will be affected, apart from maybe tradespeople.
Sure,
so if you've got a skill, you know, maybe learn a trade skill or something while you
you're doing your permaculture. I've been decorating. I was laughing. My dad looked at me and he said, well, you won't be out of a job, because I did such a good job. I was so pleased. I was like, oh, I found another way to diversify. But we digress. You get the point. You get the point of where, if you're looking at your entire marketing and your comms and what you're trying to do, you must look at those 4 pillars. Take a look at the website, and I think that some of the lessons there on how to communicate more effectively, she's just got some great content. And actually, as a PR professional, to sit there and finally hear somebody else go, we're not standalone. Like, can we just get off our high horse and not trying to pump up our own importance as a discipline, and actually realise, well, we have to work more collectively, collaboratively across all the different channels. But know where the strengths of each lie, to make sure that you're spending your money and your time and your resources more effectively and not wasting any of them. That's the key thing. But, you know,
having a really clear goal for each bit that you do, you know, whether that's free, a blog, a post, or especially if you're spending money on it, you know, what is it that you're going to get what is it that you want in return for that?
Because also the other thing is, nothing's free. Nothing. There's going to be time. Even if you did your own PR, there is going to be time spent. You're going to have to research. You're going to have to learn how to pitch. It's all that time. No, it's a big chunk of time. It's really targeted. So when you're writing a blog, you can't just whack something out unless you're really talented, which some people are. But I mean, then you have to look at your SEO. Then you have to look at your images. It's time spent.
It is. And time while you're doing that is time that you could be earning in your business, you know. So it does everything has, you know, sort of a cost and time and resources tied to it.
So make sure it works to bring in money into your business.
Yeah, it's so important. Yeah, because you've got to be sustainable. You have to, don't you? You can't operate without having that. So yeah, some really, really good points.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye.